I never could sleep. I literally sat at the edge of my bed watching my child breathe, watching her chest rise up and down, because I was not sure if she was going to take her last breath. Welcome to Fourth Trimester Voices, the podcast where we delve deep into the fourth trimester. I'm your host, Dr. Choa. So this month is NICU Awareness Month, and I really wanted to do this episode to shed a light on something about 10% of babies go through, and that is a NICU stay. It is really, really important to discuss this because 10 to 15% of babies who are born end up in the NICU. That means 1 in 10 babies will end up in the NICU. And a lot of parents whose babies end up in the NICU are faced with a whirlwind of emotions, including fear, anxiety, guilt, and isolation. So by sharing their experiences, that parents go through and finding validation and comfort in knowing that they're not alone, it's really, really important. Hearing from other people and hearing from other people who have walked the similar path is incredibly reassuring and really can help reduce the feelings of isolation. When your baby ends up in the NICU, you don't know the outcome. You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. You don't know how your baby is going to be in 6 months, 1 year, 2 years. And so you're just filled with a lot of anxiety. And so I felt that it was really, really important to do this episode to, one, reassure parents, to, one, help parents find some solidarity that they're not alone, that there's other people who are going through it, and also just to give some coping strategies to help you get through that time. I really think that it's important to empower parents as well so that they may understand that they're not completely hopeless or they're not completely without tools to get them through this time. I want to share my own experiences with the NICU. In prior episodes, I've shared with you guys about what happened with my daughter when she was born. So she inhaled amniotic fluid and went into respiratory distress. So she was unable to breathe. And soon after, she had to get oxygen, and the oxygen wasn't enough. So she ended up getting a breathing machine, something called CPAP, where they basically push large amounts of oxygen in her lungs, and she has to be on that machine constantly. That was a lot for me. When she was taken away, I think the biggest thing for me was I was thinking, what is the long-term effects, right? She's gone without oxygen for this long. It felt like forever before they put her on the machine. How is she going to end up? How long is she going to end up? I really struggled. And once she was there, I struggled just being far apart from her. I was in the OB floor. She was in the NICU. And I think for a period of time, I was unable to see her. It took some time for them to get her settled. And then with that, I went in to see her. And that experience that moms have where they're first able to hold their baby and breastfeed, I did not have that. My child was on a CPAP. She was getting a feeding tube. So within, I swear, a couple hours, not only did she have a machine, she had an IV, she had food, she was getting pumped with formula down her nose. And all of this, I felt that a lot of it wasn't communicated with me. And so when I got to the ICU, I was just in shock at everything that had gone on. And I do understand now that they had to do everything to save my baby and to make sure that she was getting the oxygen, she was getting the nutrition that she needed. But I felt out of the loop with all the choices that were happening around me. One of the things that I feel blessed about is that when I was going through all of this, one of my friends and physician colleagues, she was able to come and follow baby throughout her entire journey in the NICU. And she was communicating with the NICU doctor on my behalf. She was getting updates. She was befriending the nurses. She was literally a lifeline. And the connection that I had between me and my child while I was recovering in itself. I learned a lot of things during that time. I would say that number one, the biggest thing I learned there is like, it was a huge lesson in letting go and finding control in the things that I had control about, right? I did not have control of when she would be off of the oxygen. I did not have control of the IV placements. Now, the formula, you may argue otherwise because I know there's donor milk and there's, if I was getting milk, I'd want her to get that milk. But they may not have given me that option. And I'm not going to sit here and reiterate about what could have or what could have happened at that time, but they did the best thing to take care of my child. And I'm super grateful for the NICU team and everything that they did. But I would say that the biggest thing that helped me get through that time was having a mediator, was having a friend of mine who was a physician colleague to be able to communicate with the nursing staff, to be able to communicate with the doctors and help translate things to me. And so you may not have that, but there's other people who may be able to serve in that capacity. It may not be your partner, maybe it can be your doula or your aunt or your primary care doctor or your pediatrician, whoever the case may be, who can stand in the way between you and your child and help you get through that time, because you may not have the clarity. You're recovering from a major event mentally, emotionally, physically. So you need that person there to be able to help you. So before I even go into coping strategies, for some of our listeners who are listening, they may say, what exactly is the NICU? And will my baby end up there? Like, how do I know if they're going to end up in this place? So NICU stands for Neonatal Intensive Care Unit. And a lot of babies end up there for different reasons. Some people have this idea that babies end up in the NICU because they're only premature, so they're born early. Yes, that's true. If your baby is born before 37 weeks, they're considered premature and they may have an ICU stay. But those are not the only reasons that babies end up in the NICU. There's other reasons such as respiratory distress, as was with my child. There's infections like pneumonia that may be taking over the baby's body. There's jaundice, right? Jaundice occurs when a baby's liver is not immature enough to process something called bilirubin. So it leads to yellowing of the skin and eyes. And in a lot of severe cases that cannot be mitigated by maybe feeding the baby or putting them in light for temporary, the kids need to be admitted to the intensive care unit so that they may have phototherapy or light therapy. Other reasons they may end up in the ICU, congenital abnormalities. So some babies are born with heart defects or other genetic conditions that require immediate care or specialized cares. They may need surgery after they give birth, after mom gives birth. And so these are some conditions that may lead to interventions shortly after they give birth. And so these babies need to stay in the ICU. And then birth complications, right? Maybe when baby was exiting, baby inhaled meconium or inhaled amniotic fluid, or it was really difficult, right? Maybe there was a shoulder that took some time to come out and the baby just didn't get the oxygen that they needed. And lastly, there's twin birth. There's multiple births. If you have twins, triplets, multiples, these babies are often born early and they may require a NICU stay just to make sure that each baby is getting the necessary support in order to thrive. If your baby ends up in the intensive care unit, you typically are going through an emotional roller coaster. Parents are experiencing fear, they're experiencing anxiety, hope, sometimes grief. And I think it's really, really important to highlight what support looks like for NICU parents, right? I alluded earlier that you're going to need your healthcare provider, you're going to need your family and friends to really step in. You're going to need all the saints on board, family, friends, doctors, your church members, because being away from your child is exceedingly difficult. Having your child in this area where there's machines, there's beeping, is not how you envisioned your birth experience, right? This is not how you envisioned it. And so you're going to really need a lot of the support through this emotional journey. First and foremost, I just want to help you understand that when you're going through this, it may feel that you just don't know what to do, that you don't have the resources and you have no control. But number one, you do have some control. I would say a lot of mistakes that people make, and that's not just in this case, but it's in all cases, is that people may not educate themselves on what is going on with their child, what are the treatment options, and so they feel helpless. All this stuff is going on, everybody's chatting, you're agreeing to stuff, but you have no idea. So, number one, I want you to take the time to understand your baby's condition. Learn about your baby's condition. What are the treatment options? What exactly is the NICU process? And by knowing the steps and knowing what's going to happen a day in advance or a step in advance really can help some of this anxiety that comes from the unknown. And it just gives you a sense of control. Don't hesitate to ask questions and seek information from the healthcare team. Don't hesitate to ask questions and seek help. If you don't feel empowered to help, I wrote a little guide called Speak Up, right? How to navigate the healthcare system with confidence. I can attach that when I post it on my Facebook group, but I want you to take a look at that and empower yourself to speak because your voice matters. You do have some control. You do have some control. There may even be options about how you take, which direction you take. For example, when I talked about that my baby required formula and she was getting formula down her nasogastric tube. In retrospect, now I realize that my baby could have gotten donor milk if it was available, right? That was not necessarily the only thing that she needed to thrive, we could have done this a different way. So just take a look at those different treatment options and discuss with your provider. Is this an option? Could this be an option, right? You're not being difficult. You're just an educated person who's trying to understand what is going on and speak about your options. Stay involved in your baby's care. Participate in everything. For example, the feeding, right? You have control of that. If the baby's now receiving a bottle and maybe they're not getting a nasogastric tube, find out when the feedings are so that you can go into the ICU and feed the baby. Try to change your baby's diaper. Try to hold the baby when the baby's crying. These little things are going to help strengthen the bond that you have with your baby and give you a sense of purpose and help you connect with your child. If your baby's been admitted to the NICU, you want to really establish a daily routine. For my child, she was in there, I believe, about 5 days. And so for sanity's sake, every day had to be the same, right? I wake up, I brush my teeth, do my hygiene, I go check on her, I feed her, I go back, I eat dinner, I may go and hang out with family, or I may pray. Whatever that daily routine looks like, this gives you a sense of normalcy, right? And also provides you a sense of control and just gives you things to do. It gives you purpose. And I want to say you want to document everything. I love journaling. I do. I love writing. There's so many apps now that make journaling easy. I used to take my little piece of paper and I would write in the journal, but now you can type it on your phone. You could even dictate your journal on the and it may turn into text. Take photos, keep a scrapbook that are really going to help you process the emotions and help you reflect on your baby's progress. And honestly, doing this, maybe sometime down the line, you want to share with somebody what you went through. It may be a meaningful way to share your story with even your child. Oftentimes I'll show my daughter, I'm like, this was you and your baby, and this was you fighting for your life, and you had to be on this machine, but I'm so happy that you made it, and I'm so happy that you're feeling better. It's nice to look back and say, oh my gosh, that was such a difficult time, but look at how far we've come. And look at what an amazing little girl you are. So really try to document the journey. You may not find purpose in this now, but later on, when you look back, it may provide some sense of peace, calmness, and just gratitude for what you've been through. I want you to focus on the present. Take it one day at a time. Every day in the NICU is unpredictable. Today, your baby may be thriving. Tomorrow may be different. Try to focus on the present moment rather than worrying too much about what's going to happen. I remember I was perseverating about, is she going to be smart? Like, is she going to have some cognitive issues as a result of this? Don't look that far advanced. Try to get in day by day and then celebrate the small victories, such as baby gaining weight, maybe breathing on their own, removing the tube, whatever that looks like. Celebrate every single journey and step towards your baby going home. I believe in mindfulness and relaxation technique. For one, I meditate. I do a lot of deep breathing. There's yoga that you can do that can really help reduce the stress. and can help keep you grounded during difficult times. If you don't know how to meditate, you can go on an app. You can put, maybe calmness meditation or sleep meditation, whatever you need, and they can give you some guided meditation to help calm your spirit. Now, you hear a lot of people talk about self-care, self-care, self-care. Prioritize yourself. Do your best. Don't stay up pumping every hour. You need to sleep. Sleep is really hard to come by. And once baby is home and once you have baby, you may not have that luxury. So right now, really prioritize your sleep. Yes, pump if you have to, but really try to get some good quality sleep, because being tired and being fatigued can really exacerbate stress and can make coping even more difficult. You want to eat well. Proper nutrition. You need it for breastfeeding if you're pumping. You need it for your energy levels. You need it for your overall health. Try to refrain from eating the junk, but eat healthy. Eat your fruits and vegetables, and try to eat even if you feel like you don't have an appetite or your appetite is low, because that's more likely that you're stressed. And so for some people, the natural reaction to stress is to just not eat. And lastly, in terms of your self-care, take a break. If you've been discharged from the hospital and you're going to visit your child in the NICU and you're going back and forth, sometimes it is okay to step away from the NICU. You don't have to spend all day there. You are not neglecting your baby if you're taking time for yourself. You need to be present when you're there. Your baby needs you, and your baby needs you at your full capacity. You want to be present as much as you can. And stepping a little bit away from self-care, one of the things that a lot of people, when they're going through a hard time, they want to disconnect. I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to talk to family. I don't want to talk to friends. I don't want to talk to anyone right now. I don't know if that's you, but sometimes it can be like that. You may think that this is the best way to cope through this time, but to be honest with you, try to stay connected. You want to maintain your social connections, even if it's just a text message or a quick phone call. You may not know that your friend has a word for you, or your friend can offer emotional support, or they may say something that may literally change your day. And so you want to stay connected, and you really want to accept help. Please don't be afraid to accept offers of help from your friends and family, whether it's bringing meals, helping you with household chores, or providing childcare for your other children. Try to stay positive. Keep a gratitude journal. Write down things every day that you're grateful for, even when it seems tough. Wake up in the morning, shift your focus to the positive aspects of your life. Yes, my child is on a breathing machine. Yes, we're undergoing this worst time of our lives. But do you know I woke up today and I feel great? I'm alive. I'm breathing. Yes, all these terrible things happened yesterday, but you know what? My child today is eating on her own. Be positive. Find all the positive things in your life, write them down. And when you're having a challenging time, go back and look at it. Go back and look at it and really just reflect about your life and the positive things in it. Sometimes it may seem that everything is negative and everything is going wrong, but I promise you there's something positive in your life that you can reflect on. So let's talk a little bit about the transition out of the NICU. This is something that I feel like my providers did not really quite warn me of, right? I just went through this crazy 5 days. My baby was admitted in the hospital. She underwent all this stuff. She literally was unable to breathe. And now the hospital team is giving me my child. And by the way, they gave me my child. She was still breathing fast, right? She was breathing fast. They told me this should get better after a couple days. So imagine this. My kid's been on a machine. She got off the machine, but she's still breathing fast. Every time she feeds, she starts sweating. They're telling me that this is going to improve. They're giving you the child and telling you good luck. Can you imagine? The drive home when I was driving was literally the worst drive ever. Every single bump, I was afraid something was going to happen to my child. The first night, I couldn't sleep. I never could sleep. I literally sat at the edge of my bed watching my child breathe, watching her chest rise up and down, because I was not sure if she was going to take her last breath. That mental torment, nobody told me about that. Nobody talked about that. Nobody said, you know what, you've just went through a really difficult time. You are going to need help processing this, emotional help processing it. This did not really get better until my child had really gained a lot of weight and was months down the line. I don't even know, but I just remember watching her breathe constantly. I was constantly worried about her meeting her milestones, her development. I mean, it was quite the experience. I implore you to not underestimate the effects of what you went through. You may not think that you need the help, but trust me, it may come out in ways that you don't know. The anxiety of going outside and taking your baby somewhere because maybe you're afraid that your baby may get sick. The anxiety of having your family members over because you're afraid. There's so much that comes with this. If your baby ended up in the NICU, please seek out the resources. There's so many resources. There's support groups there that offer assistance. There's so much information out there. There's a March of Dimes. So if you go to marchofdimes.org, they have a lot of information, support, and resources for families whose babies end up in the NICU. And also they have information that can help you learn about your child's condition. There's handtohold.org, and they offer personalized support for NICU parents, including there's mentors, there's support groups, educational resources. There's a Ronald McDonald House Charities. They have a family support program that offers in-hospital support. There's peer support. And I'm pretty sure there's coaches out there. There's NICU coaches that may help you get through this. If you need support and you need support during this time, please look up my support group on Facebook called Beyond the Fourth Trimester Postpartum Support Group. I really invite you to share your own NICU story in the group and see how many moms have been through what you have been through. They may even provide a word of support. They may help you get through this terrible time. If you're in need of support, whether for yourself or for your child, whether it's medical, whether it's emotional or mental health support, please email me at fourthtrimestervoices@gmail.com. I really want to help you. I just want to leave you with these words. You are not alone. You will get through this. Today may seem like the worst day of your life, but tomorrow the sun rises again. Tomorrow is a new day. Take it one day at a time. And I'm here if you need me. Take care. If you live in the Atlanta, Georgia area, I want you to consider working with EM Care to You. And this is my concierge medical company, and we offer comprehensive care for mothers postpartum. I started the company because I saw a need. I was taking care of so many postpartum moms that had a need, and I wanted to provide a solution for their problem. So at EM Care to You, we provide access to in-home lactation support, pelvic floor physical therapy, mental health support, and more. You can learn more about this at emcaretouYou.com. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Fourth Trimester Voices. If you have any questions about today's episode or you want to share your story, please email us at fourthtrimestervoices@gmail.com. My name is Dr. Choa, and it's been lovely talking with you all today. Take care.